17-year-old Sophia Martinez clutched her belly as another contraction rippled through her 8.5-month pregnant body, but nothing was going to stop her from seeing Taylor Swift tonight. Not her family's rejection, not her ex-boyfriend's abandonment, and definitely not the judgmental stares from other concert-goers at the Crypto.com arena who couldn't understand why a visibly pregnant teenager would be attending a concert alone at 37 weeks. Before we dive into Sophia's incredible story, I need to ask you something. If stories about real human courage and the power of music to heal broken hearts matter to you, please hit that subscribe button right now. These stories take weeks to research and craft, and your subscription helps us continue sharing the moments that remind us all that kindness can change everything. Now, back to Sophia's unforgettable night. Sophia had saved every dollar from her part-time job at a local grocery store for 6 months to afford tonight's ticket, working extra shifts even as her pregnancy progressed and her energy flagged. Her family had disowned her when she refused to handle the situation as her father had demanded, and her boyfriend Carlos had disappeared the moment she told him about the baby. At 17, Sophia was facing motherhood completely alone, with no support system except for the social worker assigned to her case and the Taylor Swift songs that had become her emotional lifeline during the darkest period of her young life. Soon You'll Get Better had been playing on repeat in her small studio apartment for months, not because she was sick, but because the song's message about fighting through impossible circumstances and holding on to hope spoke to her situation in ways that felt almost prophetic. Taylor's lyrics about family, resilience, and believing that difficult times could lead to something beautiful had sustained Sophia through nights when she wondered if she was strong enough to raise a child alone. Tonight was supposed to be her celebration, her last night of freedom before becoming a mother, her way of saying goodbye to the person she had been before her life changed forever. She had planned this evening as a gift to herself and to the baby growing inside her, wanting to share one beautiful experience with her unborn daughter before the realities of teenage motherhood took over completely. But by the time Taylor took the stage for Lover, Sophia was experiencing what she initially thought was just the usual late pregnancy discomfort. The baby had been active all day, and Sophia assumed the tightening in her abdomen was just her daughter responding to the excitement and loud music. She had been having Braxton Hicks contractions for weeks, and her doctor had assured her that first babies rarely came early or quickly. As Taylor moved through the first hour of her set list, Sophia sang along with tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the surreal experience of hearing her favorite songs performed live while feeling her baby moving and kicking in response to the music. This was exactly the kind of moment she had dreamed about during the long, lonely months of her pregnancy, sharing something beautiful with her daughter before she was even born. But during All Too Well 10-minute version, the pain that Sophia had been dismissing as normal pregnancy discomfort suddenly became something unmistakably different. The contraction that hit during the bridge of the song was so intense that she doubled over in her seat, gasping for breath and clutching the armrests as waves of pain unlike anything she had ever experienced crashed over her. "Oh no," Sophia whispered as the realization hit her with stunning clarity. "Oh no, 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 not tonight. Please, not tonight." The woman sitting next to Sophia, a middle-aged mother who had brought her own teenage daughter to the concert, noticed Sophia's distress immediately. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked, leaning closer to be heard over Taylor's performance. I think I might be in labor," Sophia said, her voice tight with pain and panic. "But it's too early. The baby isn't supposed to come for 3 more weeks." "How far apart are your contractions?" the woman asked, immediately shifting into crisis management mode that comes from years of mothering experience. "I don't know," Sophia admitted. "I thought it was just false labor, but this pain is different. It's so much stronger than anything I felt before." As if to prove her point, another contraction hit during Taylor's performance of Champagne Problems, this one strong enough to make Sophia cry out audibly. Several people in their section turned to look, and Sophia felt a wave of embarrassment wash over her as she realized she was creating a disturbance during the concert she had worked so hard to attend. "We need to get you to a hospital," the woman said firmly. "I'm calling security to help us get you out of here safely." "No, please," Sophia said desperately. "I can't leave. This is the only chance I'll ever have to see Taylor Swift." I've been planning this for months. I can wait until after the concert." But her body was making the decision for her. The contractions were coming faster now, every 4 or 5 minutes, and each one was more intense than the last. Sophia was beginning to understand that her daughter had her own timeline, and it apparently included being born during a Taylor Swift concert, whether Sophia was ready or not. Within minutes, venue security had been alerted to the situation, and Sophia found herself being carefully helped out of her seat and guided toward the arena's first aid station. As they moved through the corridors, she could hear Taylor singing, quote, "The Best Day," a song about the relationship between a daughter and her mother that suddenly felt like a cosmic message about what was about to happen. "Miss, we've called an ambulance," the head security guard told Sophia as they reached the medical station. "They'll be here in about 10 minutes to take you to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center." Can I hear the rest of the concert from here?" Sophia asked weakly, still hoping to salvage some part of the evening she had planned. "I know it sounds crazy, but this baby, she's been listening to Taylor Swift my entire pregnancy. I wanted us to share this experience." The medical staff exchanged glances, recognizing both the unusual nature of the request and the genuine emotion behind it. "We can keep the door open," the nurse said gently. "You'll be able to hear the music from here while we monitor you until the paramedics arrive." What happened next would become the most extraordinary part of Sophia's story. As she lay on the medical station cot, breathing through contractions that were now coming every 3 minutes, word of the pregnant teenager in labor had somehow reached Taylor's team backstage through the arena's communication system. Taylor Swift was in the middle of her acoustic set when her tour manager whispered the situation to her during a brief pause between songs. "There's a 17-year-old girl in the medical station who went into labor during your show," he said quietly. "She's alone, and she's been listening to your music throughout her pregnancy. She didn't want to leave the concert." Taylor felt her heart break, and her maternal instincts activate simultaneously. Without hesitation, she made a decision that would transform what could have been a traumatic emergency into one of the most meaningful experiences of multiple people's lives. "Everyone," Taylor said into her microphone, addressing the 20,000 people in the arena, "I want to tell you about someone very special who's here tonight. There's a brave 17-year-old young woman named Sophia who is currently in labor with her baby girl, and she didn't want to leave our concert." The arena fell silent, except for a few gasps of surprise and concern from the audience. "Sophia, if you can hear me," Taylor continued, "this song is for you and your daughter. You're about to become a mother, which is the most incredible thing anyone can do, and you're doing it with such courage." Taylor began an acoustic version of "Soon You'll Get Better," but she modified the lyrics to speak directly to Sophia's situation. "Soon you'll be a mother, and you'll be amazing. Soon you'll meet your daughter, and love beyond imagining." In the medical station, Sophia was crying as she listened to Taylor singing directly to her while contractions continued to intensify. The paramedics had arrived and were preparing to transport her to the hospital, but they were allowing her to hear the song that Taylor was performing in her honor. "That's Taylor Swift singing to you and your baby," one of the paramedics said with obvious amazement. "I've been doing this job for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like this." But Taylor wasn't finished. As the song ended, she made an announcement that would change Sophia's life forever. "Sophia, I want you to know that you're not alone," Taylor said into the microphone. "Being a young mother is going to be challenging, but you have shown such strength tonight. I want to be part of your journey, and I want to help make sure you and your baby have everything you need." The ambulance ride to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center was unlike any emergency transport the paramedics had ever conducted. Sophia was listening to Taylor's concert through her phone while dealing with active labor, and the paramedics found themselves caught up in the emotional intensity of the situation as they monitored both mother and baby during the journey. "Your baby is really determined to be born tonight," the lead paramedic told Sophia as they arrived at the hospital. "She must really love Taylor Swift." At Cedars-Sinai, Sophia was rushed into the maternity ward, where nurses and doctors who had heard about her unusual circumstances were waiting to provide care. But what none of them expected was the phone call that came through the hospital's main number 40 minutes after Sophia's arrival. "This is Taylor Swift," the voice on the phone told the surprised hospital operator. "I understand you have a young woman named Sophia who went into labor at my concert tonight. I would like to know if it would be appropriate for me to visit her." Within an hour, Taylor Swift was in Sophia's delivery room, having quietly left her concert venue and driven to the hospital with her security team. She arrived just as Sophia was entering the final stages of labor, and she asked permission to stay and provide support during the birth. "Sophia, you don't have to do this alone," Taylor said, taking the 17-year-old's hand as another contraction hit. "I'm here, and we're going to meet your daughter together." What followed was one of the most extraordinary births in the history of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. As Sophia worked through the final contractions of labor, Taylor Swift sat beside her, providing encouragement, holding her hand, and singing softly when the pain became overwhelming. "You're so strong," Taylor whispered to Sophia during a particularly intense contraction. "Your daughter is so lucky to have a mother who fights this hard for her." When Sophia's daughter finally arrived at 11:47 p.m., the first sound the baby heard in the world was Taylor Swift's voice singing "The Best Day," creating a moment that was both deeply intimate and utterly surreal. "She's beautiful," Taylor said, tears streaming down her face as she watched Sophia hold her daughter for the first time. "Look at what you did. Look at this perfect little person you created." Sophia was crying too hard to speak, overwhelmed by the miracle of meeting her daughter and the incredible kindness of having Taylor Swift present for the most important moment of her life. "What are you going to name her?" Taylor asked as they watched the baby settle into her mother's arms. "I was thinking about Hope," Sophia said softly. "Hope Maria, after my grandmother. But now, would it be okay if I called her Taylor Hope? Because you gave me hope when I had nothing else." Taylor's response was immediate and emotional. "Sophia, it would be the greatest honor of my life to share a name with your daughter." The hospital stay that followed was unlike anything the maternity staff had ever experienced. Taylor arranged for Sophia to have a private room and comprehensive care, but more importantly, she spent hours with the new mother, teaching her about feeding, diaper changing, and the thousand small skills that come with caring for a newborn. "Being a mother is the hardest and most beautiful thing you'll ever do," Taylor told Sophia as they watched baby Taylor Hope sleep. "But you don't have to figure it out all at once. You just have to love her, and everything else you'll learn as you go." But Taylor's support extended far beyond the hospital stay. She arranged for Sophia to have a fully furnished apartment in a safe neighborhood with good schools, established a college fund for both Sophia's education and Taylor Hope's future, and most importantly, created a support system that ensured Sophia would never have to face the challenges of young motherhood alone. The Taylor Hope Foundation, established in honor of Sophia's daughter, became a comprehensive support system for pregnant teenagers who lacked family support. The program provided housing assistance, educational opportunities, childcare, healthcare, and mentorship from other young mothers who had successfully navigated similar challenges. "Sophia taught me something important," Taylor explained in interviews about the foundation. "She taught me that courage isn't about having perfect circumstances. It's about making the best choices you can with whatever situation you're facing. She chose to love her baby and fight for their future together, and that deserves all the support we can provide." 6 months later, Sophia was enrolled in community college studying early childhood development, while Taylor Hope thrived in a high-quality daycare program. But perhaps more importantly, Sophia had become an advocate for other young women facing unplanned pregnancies, speaking at high schools and community centers about the importance of hope, support, and believing that difficult circumstances could lead to beautiful outcomes. "That night changed my life in ways I never expected," Sophia would say when telling her story. "I went to the concert thinking I was saying goodbye to my old life. Instead, I found out that my new life was going to be supported by people who believed in me, even when I couldn't believe in myself." Taylor Hope grew up knowing the story of her dramatic birth, and as she got older, she would listen to the recording that had been made of Taylor singing to her mother during labor. "The Best Day" became her favorite song, not just because of its melody, but because it reminded her that she had been welcomed into the world with love from the very first moment of her life. The Crypto.com Arena eventually installed a small plaque in their medical station that read, "New life begins here, where music, kindness, and hope create miracles that last forever." But Sophia Martinez preferred to remember that night not as the time a celebrity helped her, but as the night she learned that she was stronger than she knew, that asking for help was a sign of wisdom rather than weakness, and that sometimes the most beautiful moments emerge from the most challenging circumstances, when we're surrounded by people who believe in the power of love to transform everything. Sometimes the most profound transformations happen not when everything goes according to plan, but when life forces us to discover reserves of strength we didn't know we possessed. Sophia Martinez's decision to attend Taylor Swift's concert while 8 months pregnant could have ended in crisis and isolation. Instead, it became a testament to the power of community, compassion, and the understanding that no one should face life's biggest moments alone. Taylor's response to Sophia's emergency proved that true artistry extends far beyond entertainment. It includes the recognition that when someone needs help during their most vulnerable moment, everything else can wait. The most beautiful thing about Taylor Hope's birth wasn't that it happened at a concert, but that it happened surrounded by people who understood that bringing new life into the world deserves to be celebrated and supported, regardless of the circumstances that lead to that moment.